Welcome to the Day 2 podcast. Today's episode, what do mattresses, DRTV, and Japan have in common? Today's guest, CEO of Dormeo USA, my friend Scott Reid. I'm Jason Boyce, founder and CEO of Avenue 7 Media and host of the Day 2 podcast. With me today is my good friend Scott Reid. Scott has made a career building $100 million brands in the US and in Japan, and is a master at something called MER, Media Efficiency Ratio. What is MER for you Amazon sellers? You may know it as tacos. Scott, welcome to Day 2. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. How have you been?
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you being here. I didn't know what tacos were until I met you. I have to be honest.
That's nice. That's nice of you to say.
That's definitely an Amazon word.
So what's new and exciting in Scott's world?
We just had a record sales week with the highest MER at the same time. So record sales with the highest record MER, media earnings ratio. So you spend $1, you want to make $3. I always preach the same thing. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio. That's what the MER is always doing. And we were north of that last week and with record sales. So that was a great week for us.
Fantastic. Scott, I always introduce you as one of our brands, our clients, our friends who just gets it. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get mixed up in business? You're in Canada, right? Were you in Canada before you went to Japan? Tell us this whole story. How'd you get mixed up in this product sales game?
I was born in Canada and I was in Toronto. I went to school in Ottawa. I graduated and I thought I was going to go work at Molson. I drank a lot of the beer company. Yeah, I drank a lot of their product. I thought I knew everything about beer from university and high school. I came up with this little invention for the label, and I had interviews. I think a girl in my class, her father was like the vice president or something, and I was doing well at the interviews. And then there was, in 1994, I don't know if you remember, there was a baseball strike and a hockey strike all in the same year, and beer sales went down. They told me that they were freezing, new recruiting. And so an older friend of mine who lived up the street had just come back from Japan, and I was telling him that I was still looking for my job, and I was going to graduate soon, and that Molson had, put a hold on my visions of working in the marketing department at Molson. That was my dream. And he said, you should go to Japan. He said, the girls are really cute, and it's a great place. And he just taught English there. And I thought, okay, I'll take a year off, and I'll teach English in Japan. 2 months later, I was in Japan, and I met my first wife, my only wife. I'm divorced now, and then after being in Japan for a year, through a relationship with the Canadian consul, I met an entrepreneur from Chicago who had met an entrepreneur in Japan, a little older, and he was probably 10 years older than I was, and he was kind of like my mentor and big brother, and he hired me into this direct marketing company that was basically cherry picking all of successful DRTV brands from North America and Europe, and then taking them to Japan. And so we believe that a creative that was generating an MER of 3 or above had something magical about it. Of course, the product played a big role, right? But it was a product creative kind of operations, tribrid that you needed. And so we let all these US companies test and fail and find the 1 out of 100 that worked. And then maybe 10 of those would be created a year out of the States and Europe. And so we would just cherry pick them and we'd bring them to Japan. And so I worked at that company for 24 years, called Oaklawn Marketing, Shop Japan. I think I can safely say it was the largest omni-channel marketing company in Japan. QVC had higher sales. They were like $1.5 billion. I think at peak we're about 700 million sales. Amazon was bigger, but they're not omni-channel, right? We were truly omni-channel, all media, all channels, e-commerce, call centers, retail, 50,000 retail stores. It was truly omni-channel. So yeah, it was a great experience.
1 out of 100. I want to unpack this idea. So that is not easy. I know there's a lot of Amazon sellers out there who can tell you they've tried the Japanese market and it hasn't worked out for them. Sometimes it's execution. Other times the product's just not something that the Japanese consumer likes. What was that formula that you guys determined was the best determinant for a successful product in North America and the US and Canada translating well to the Japanese market?
When Oakland marketing started, this was before the internet. Like, I think at some point, I was the guy who said we should put the domain URL in the TV show, right? So we were on, this is back in the day when we were on TV with just a 1-800 number with no URL, right? It was pre-URL days, okay, when we started. And so we were watching the US DRTV industry, and there was a report called the IMS Infomercial Monitoring Report. Like, I swear this guy had VCRs in his garage monitoring all the TV stations, seeing what advertisements were going on. And we were focused on long form. So long form media would be 30 minutes. People call it infomercials, right? We were in the infomercial business. And so there was maybe 20, 30 players in the U.S. infomercial industry. It was a small group of people, characters,
Sure.
And we would watch their shows, and then we would watch this IMS report. And our rule was, if you were on the IMS report 12 weeks in a row, that meant you got something going, because nobody can afford to stay on TV for 12 weeks if they're not making money, right? So that was the rule. That was the rule.
Got it.
12 weeks, and then we're interested. People were people all around the world. Everybody's basically the same. Everybody wants to look more beautiful. Everybody wants to have flatter abs. Everybody wants to save time in the kitchen. So if that new frying pan, if the egg would fall off the frying pan, or if that new, six-pack training device would help you get a six-pack, people wanted it. It didn't matter if they were Japanese or Korean or Canadian, So that was kind of our philosophy. Stick with the successes, and it'll increase the chance. It didn't guarantee it, of course. My 1 out of 100 number in the U.S., and I could be exaggerating. Maybe it was 2 out of 100 or 3 out of 100 that worked, but there's a lot of testing going on, and then very few of them actually worked. And so we would just focus on the ones that would work, and then that might give us a 4 out of 10 chance to succeed in Japan. You know what I mean? But it didn't cost a lot of money to fail in Japan. To test something, you do, you take the TV creative, you dub it into Japanese, you take the product, it's kind of a minimum viable product, right?
Okay, so MVP, sure.
MVP. You do an MVP. It's got to be good enough, for the Japanese consumer, right? You have to do some localization on the packaging and the instruction manual, things like that. But for $100,000, you could test. And so you could afford to test 10 of those and find 4 winners. That was a good ratio.
So you guys would work with the folks that developed the original infomercial. So you were making a lot of trips to New Jersey. I mean, I know that there was like,
exactly,
right? I know New Jersey was
the road in New Jersey. Yeah. Actually, a lot of California trips, but a lot of Vegas trips. There was a conference in Vegas that we would go to. And so I would walk the floor and I would find the newest thing and to come out of America, and I would, bring it to Japan. That was basically what I did. And then we would work with them and really understand, well, what were the best practices and how were they increasing AOV and what were they doing in the back end? Because, it's just, you're trying to get the response. You reach the customer with the media. You want to get the response, and then you want to convert on the call center or at the website or on Amazon. And so then, what do you do in the back end? What is there an upsell? Is there a cross-sell, a down sell? Is there a continuity play? And you're trying to learn all of that because they've done it and you don't need to rebuild the wheel. And so you would study that. They wanted you to succeed because you were buying the product from them and they were just sending the POs to their factory. And then it was shipped from China to Japan, right? But they would add margin.
Sure.
And so they had it was all in their best interest to give you all the information you needed to make it work.
And all of that experience, because why? Your neighbor said the girls in Japan are cute.
Yeah. Well, basically.
Everything goes back to
women are simply creatures,
Fantastic. And so what was it like, the transition from going from Canada to the Japanese culture, which are very different? Did you feel connected to it? Did it take you a while, or did you immediately?
Yeah, there's a honeymoon stage where, for the first couple of years, you're like on the Shinkansen and say, oh my God, I'm sitting on the Shinkansen. This is so cool. You're traveling back and forth between Tokyo and Nagoya. I was based in Nagoya. My first couple of nights there, I was surprised to see other foreigners. Like I thought I'd be the only guy there. And then I was surprised to see dogs. For some reason, I thought dogs were like, a North American phenomena for some reason. I wondered if they spoke English or I was confused about, what language the dogs spoke. But no, it's I fit in really well. Back in the day when I went there wasn't a lot of foreigners in Nagoya. So, because Nagoya is like, Chicago of the United States, right? It's not the big city of Tokyo, but I get pointed at, and little kids would say hello to me. And
for those of you who don't know Scott, he's very tall. How tall are you, Scott?
I'm 6'2".
6'2". Okay, so 6'2" walking around Japan.
Yeah,
you're going to get noticed.
And my boys, there must be something in the Japanese milk, because my oldest is 6'8". And my youngest is 6'4". So my oldest is in Tokyo, and he gets a lot of people commenting on his height. Even more so than I did. Look, but the culture is a great culture. It's an amazing culture. I'm blessed to have spent, half my life there. It was 24 years because I didn't leave until I was 48. I came back to North America just before COVID.
And you're really good at ordering sushi. And do you meditate? I know that's a big part of the Asian culture. Did you adopt any other sort of Asian practices before you came back to Canada?
I meditate on a daily basis, to be honest with you. I don't think I got that from Asia, to be honest. I got it from, I don't think I got it from Japan, actually. I think I just got it from friends and different associations I was involved in. But
different neighbor?
Yeah, different neighbor.
Okay.
No, mindfulness is very important.
Okay, Scott. So I want to go back to this 2 out of 100, 1 out of 100, these products. Did you identify any themes, any real difference between what a Japanese consumer wants compared to a U.S. consumer? Because if you've got a U.S. product and it's, 98 of them are still doing well and they're spending for TV and they're getting ostensibly good sales, what is that difference between the Japanese consumer and the U.S. consumer? Because I think that a lot of Amazon sellers who want to do well in Japan would love to hear it.
I don't know if I could say there was a theme, but there was a couple of categories that seemed to always work, right? So kitchen category was a big one. Air fryer was a big hit for us when that trend kind of came across. I think air fryers started in the United States, if I'm correct. The hot pot was a big one, right? What's it called? Food Saver. Jardin was selling us their Food Saver brand. It was a vacuum pack sealer, right?
Right.
Jack LaLanne's Power Juicer.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Jack LaLanne?
That's gold. That's gold right there, Scott.
Yeah, we sold millions of Jack LaLanne Power Juicers. So kitchen was big. Cleaning was big. So we did well with Shark. We took Shark to Japan. So Shark steam mops and Shark vacuums, and the whole concept of cleaning with water with no chemicals that resonated with the Japanese consumer. And then fitness was fitness was a huge part of a large percentage of the DRTV hits in the United States, right? It was very demonstrable. It was a very demonstrable product. Before government agencies clamped down on before-after pictures, you could demonstrate the before-after benefits of this fitness device, through customer testimonials. And so we were able to take that content and wow the customers in Japan. So I think the theme that brings up what was the theme? Highly demonstrable. But that's really the secret of DRTV, right? You've got 30 minutes to tell a story. You better be able to demonstrate and wow the customer. Our secret formula used to be you needed to have innovation. It all started with
unique selling proposition, right? This is your mantra.
USP, innovation. That allowed you to deliver wow, because you could demonstrate something that no one's ever seen before. the monster truck driving over the inflatable couch because of this new patented plastic adhesive technology that, doesn't leak or something. You know what I mean? Like, innovation was this adhesive seals that they made on plastic, and then that allowed you to do a monster truck running over the air mattress or air sofa, It had to be fun and easy to use. And if you could have those three things, and then it would change their life, and then that would deliver happiness. That was kind of our formula.
Right.
So we kind of look at anything that was coming across. We'd say, where's the innovation? And I'd always think, is it defendable? Right? Is it patented? Because there was nothing worse than making something a success and then all the counterfeits and copies coming through, China quickly, within weeks of after launching this product, and then you lose your business, right? Because everybody's just pricing it down to the bottom, right?
Even then, I'm still stuck on this story, Scott, where you're the first person in the room in your office in Japan to say, hey guys, we're spending all this money on TV. Maybe we should put the website URL on the TV.
Literally, that was me. Yeah.
And so even then, these products, if they were defensible and you didn't have a patent, were getting knocked off in China.
Correct. And so we very quickly learned that you don't do anything that doesn't have, a defendable, IP. IP was gold. It's one of the reasons why when I retired from the Japanese company and I was coming back to North America, why I chose Dormeo, because of the patents. There's 5 patents on this Octaspring technology. And so I knew that, okay, I'm not going to be wasting my time. This will be a long-term, you can build a brand. You can build a brand if there's defendable IP. It's hard to build brands when everybody else is making copies of it.
Especially in this world, especially on the Amazon channel, right, Scott? Because
Amazon promotes the copies.
That's right. They promote the copies.
You might be interested in these knockoffs. Check them out. They're priced cheaper. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but one way Amazon, Amazon putting its customers first is always showing the other opportunities that are out there for the customer.
Talk about efficiency. When I say MER, it's media efficiency ratio. You say media earnings ratio. I think they're the same.
Yeah, it's either goes back.
I think they're interchangeable.
Yes.
But talk about an efficient model. If you're spending a boatload of money, and I know you guys do, to your top 2 DRTV ad now for Dormeo, the premium mattress.
It goes up and down, but we're in the top 10 typically.
Amazing. If you're spending that kind of money to raise awareness and deliver on the benefits and the messaging of your product, and you can't defend it, you got money going right down the drain, right, Scott?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I want to understand more. You're in Japan. You got 2 amazing boys. How did you end up back here?
It was 24 years working in the same organization. And life just tapped me on the shoulder and said, it's time to go. You've been here for a long time. Maybe it's time to try something new. And so I decided to come back to Canada, where my mother was getting older. My father was getting older. See what it'd be like to live in my hometown of Toronto again. So I came back in, I guess it was June, July of 2019. And I came back with the role of CEO of Dormeo. We're based in Houston, but everything's virtual these days. So I run a Houston-based company from Toronto. And they'll make a lot of decisions in the U.S. business. There's other people in the U.S. But yeah, so that's how I came back. I knew the founder of Dormeo.
Okay.
For 25 years, because he was running the equivalent of our Japanese company, but he was running that in Eastern Europe. And we were also in Japan selling a topper. It was a piece of memory foam, literally just a piece of memory foam. We made it in Japan. It was called True Sleeper. It was a brand that we bought from a Toronto company and friend. The topper business in Japan was $250 million a year. And it's been 18 years now on TV. It's still on TV. I think it's still the number 1 product that Shop Japan sells, I believe.
Just a rectangular piece of foam.
Just a rectangular piece of foam.
Not even an egg crate, just
foam. Nothing. It just fit really well with Japanese sleeping on futons. just put this on television. It fit really well with the aging population of Japan, aches and pains in their body. They wanted something a little more, more cushion. So with the experience of marketing a memory foam topper, then I saw what Dormeo had to offer, this unique patented OctaSpring technology, which is basically the benefits of a metal spring, but combined with foam. So it's just a foam spring. Air flows through it, so you don't get hot like memory foam. It's not memory foam, so you don't get stuck like quicksands. Everybody feels it's hard to roll over once you're stuck in a memory foam, And so I thought, oh, this is unique. This is wow. I can deliver wow with this to consumers. This would be a good place to go and try to build a $100 million business. So this would be fun. I know what I'm doing, and the payoff will be, potentially highly possible because it's got all the right ingredients.
Fantastic. So again, unique selling proposition, patent, it's defensible. The DRTV game. Did you know when you accepted the position that you were going to push for DRTV here in the United States and North America?
That was a requirement in my contract.
Wow. Amazing. Yes. Why? Tell me why. What's the benefit there?
Well, the founder of the company was a believer like I was in DRTV. And the team that he had hired prior to me could never get it to work. And they were always focused on retail. They were a retail team.
Yeah.
And I learned that you never go to retail until the retailers call you. You have to build a brand. You have to build awareness. You have to build a business. Then, you do that by TV. Or you can do that by Meta, right? I actually started the DR business for Dormeo on Meta. And then after we got the business working and figured out what does the customer want by listening to the voice of the customer, then we were able to, okay, now we know how to build our 30-minute story. Let's build our infomercial and go on TV, right? So that's going digital first is now a potential, a better way to do it, actually. Less risky. Because infomercials are expensive. You got to drop $250,000 to $300,000 to $500,000 to create a 30-minute creative. Yeah, when I was hired, my contract stated that within X months, I would have an infomercial on TV because the founder was so frustrated not being able to do that. That's why he hired me as a guy who knew DRTV.
The rest is history. Even today, Scott, there's so many folks.
DRTV works. Now, the demographic of our product is one advantage to making DRTV work, right? It's, our demo is 50 to 80. It's when people get aches and pains, right? That's why they want something to put over their mattress. They're uncomfortable. They're not happy with their mattress. So they need either a new mattress, which Dormeo does sell. Dormeo has amazing mattresses. They're very popular in Canada, and they will be very popular in the United States. But when I was looking at the competition out there, I saw a lot of VC juiced up companies that were just going after top line. They didn't care about their MERs. They were just caring about dominating top line sales. And so I was like, I don't want to go compete there. That's a red ocean. No one had innovated the topper ever. Right? There's very few innovations in the topper. So I said, let's take this technology and let's put it in a topper and go with our topper first. And so that's why we started with our topper.
Fantastic. And, we have a mutual friend, Rick Cesare. I remember having conversations with Rick and how he would always talk about how a lot of the Madison Avenue folks would look down on, some DRTV. And even when he was working on the George Foreman grill, which at one point was, for a decade, I think it was the number one DRTV campaign. And then they would say, oh, you're never going to get into stores, et cetera. But the DRTV campaigns got the George Foreman grill into stores. It became so wildly popular that before you knew it, it was in Macy's and it was in Nordstrom's and now it's in every store, Target, everywhere. And it all boils down to one thing.
The buyers are watching TV too. The buyers are watching TV.
Right. The buyers are watching TV. Yes. And in fact, it's funny translating to our Amazon stuff that we talk about all the time. Not only are the buyers watching TV still today, but they've also got the Amazon app on their phone. So tell us about the calculation about going live on Amazon. What did you like about that channel? What do you not like about that channel? And why Amazon when you've got Facebook media driving a lot of direct consumer traffic to your website and you've got great TV campaigns? What's the calculation there with Amazon?
In Japan, we worked with Amazon. They were an important channel, almost as important as Rakuten. I can't remember which one was larger, actually, but I think Rakuten was larger than Amazon, even when I left the company. Rakuten was the dominant e-commerce player in Japan before Amazon Japan started.
Sure.
I think that one of the main motivators was that if we weren't on Amazon, then it was just the knockoffs and the counterfeits that were on Amazon. So we kind of had to be on Amazon if we, unless we wanted our business stolen from us, because not all of the products that we had in Japan were patented. We learned after a while that you should focus on those ones, but we had legacy items that we were selling, like True Sleeper wasn't patented. It was just a piece of memory foam. It had a trademark on its name, but no product patent. Amazon was where counterfeits were of our products.
Right.
And so we decided, okay, well, it was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard. You had to do it. It had to be on Amazon. I didn't like it, to be honest with you, because I couldn't upsell on Amazon. We had a great catalog business that we would insert in the products. We'd have a great outbound business where we call customers after they had read the catalog, and we would, we'd DM them and postcard them. And so we'd lose all of that additional lifetime value of the customer when we were on Amazon, but it came down to it, hey, do you want to get the customer or not? Because a certain amount of people will, trust Amazon. So that's how I got used to doing business with Amazon. I was wholesaling Amazon. That caused a whole bunch of, pricing issues. If one of our other retailers would drop the price, Amazon would follow suit. And so in the US and working with you, I wasn't hard to be convinced that the right way was to be a third-party seller on Amazon, controlling your price, controlling your brand, controlling your page content. In the United States, unfortunately, the DRTV industry didn't always treat their customer like we treated our customer in Japan. You want to answer your customer service calls because it gives you an opportunity to talk to your customer and help enrich their life further, because that was our whole purpose, enriching our customers' lives.
Oh, interesting.
And so you wanted to talk to them because I had, 50 other products to sell them. So you were excited to talk to our customers. In the United States, they didn't do that as much. Packaging wasn't as important. Packaging in Japan, if you've ever been to a nice Japanese restaurant, you'll see that everything's presented to you nicely. And so dented corners and on packaging, that was a defect in Japan.
Sure.
So there's this joke someone told me about. There's this US product manufacturer, and they go to Japan and they interview this factory because they're thinking of producing their widget or whatever it is at this Japanese factory. They're asking for the contract, and they said, look, there's nothing in here about defects. We want 5% defects. We're not going to be negotiating on this. It's got to be 5% defects because we can't tolerate anything else. And the Japanese kind of scrunched their heads and, well, why do you want 5% defects? Well, no, it's very important for us. It's got to be 5% defects. And so I think at the end of the joke, it's about, well, the Japanese manufacturer produced, all the items, and at the end of the process, they would have to break 5% of them to follow the requirements of this contract, right? Because the US guys were thinking that 5% defects was good, and that was their minimum expectation, right? Where the Japanese, they don't do defects.
No, so 0% defects.
0% defects. So we would get it. Zero's kind of hard. Zero's expensive too. So
sure,
we would get it down to 0.5.
Why Amazon? Why did you end up going on Amazon?
In the United States, where when people see products on TV, because they hadn't been treated fairly at all times, they were a little bit skeptical of anything they saw on TV. They were skeptical of anything they saw on Facebook because Facebook has basically almost zero, regulatory, watchdogs.
Yeah.
You can sell anything there, right? You don't even have to deliver the product that you sell, unfortunately. We've all bought something on Facebook and never received it, People have lost trust with, TV shopping products or as seen on TV products. And they would certainly lost trust with buying things off Facebook, but they would trust Amazon. They knew who to call or at least email, because I don't think you can call Amazon very easily, but they knew who to email and, had a return process. So I think it was essential to be on Amazon. And it's an extension of our website. It's an extension of our call center, right? So when you're driving media on Meta or on TV, you're creating awareness and people are going to respond, right? So you reach people and then they're going to respond. They can either call the 1-800 number or go to the URL or click on the Facebook or go search it on Google, or they can go right to Amazon, and a percentage of people go straight to Amazon. Check out the reviews. People trust the reviews on Amazon, I think, better than reviews on people's own websites. And today, 20% of our sales is on Amazon.
I mean, considering the amount of spend that you guys have on TV, that's pretty impressive. And I got to tell you, Scott, there's a lot of Amazon sellers out there that envy the fact that 80% of your sales does not come on Amazon. Typically, it's the other way around, right? And it's to your point. You put it in your contract. I will have a brand awareness channel so that we could talk about what's great about this Dormeo mattress topper and now pillows and mattresses, and you have a format to do that rather than throwing up on the internet and hoping for the best.
Yeah, no, when I was thinking about this podcast, though, I see a lot of videos for, there's lots of different ways to make money on Amazon, right? There's retail arbitration, where you're running around in your car to different Walmart stores and going to the sale items. And then, that seems like a lot of work. I didn't want to do that. But some people do really well doing that, and so you're selling other people's products through the marketplace, right? Or you see a cool looking, funny toilet plunger with, somebody's head on it or something. Okay, that's a great item. That's going to be in demand. And you go to Alibaba and you find, so these are commodity plays, right? And then you go and sell, and, you can go do that. What we're talking about is like building $100 million brands. You can't build $100 million brands by shopping for the closeout sales at Walmart, or doing Alibaba drop shipping. So it's a different mindset.
And even if you did, it would not be a transferable asset. I mean, not only are you generating revenue and profits quarter in and quarter out, but you've got something that's special that at some point in the future, if you and the owners wanted to sell it, you could, and get even more value out of it than the cash flow that you're generating year in and year out.
Exactly.
I hope our Amazon sellers are listening. This is your advanced degree course and how to build $100 million brand, rather than doing all that hard work of driving from Walmart closeout store to closeout store.
It's a lot of hard work, but at least you're not driving around to
well, no question. And it's a lot of hard work up front, right? That translates into easier work once you've got this figured out.
It's a machine. You're building a machine.
That's right. You're building the machine. And I know how much hard work you've put into this, because I've had the pleasure of having a front row seat there and working with you on this as well, Scott. When did you first understand, when was your aha moment that this MER thing, this media efficiency rate, and this model that you have executed to such great success with Dormeo USA was it? What was it? One aha moment? Was it a multitude of aha moments? And when did you understand fully that this MER thing was what you needed to have in order to run any other successful future business?
I can't think of the aha moment, but it was just doing it so many times over and over again in Japan. Like we were testing, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 products a year.
Which is a lot.
Rolling out, 3 or 4 of them. And instantly they become at least $25 million brands. And then 2 of them would become 50 million and 1 would become 100 million, right? So every year, the same process. And you could just see what was the same. And it was, okay, anything that you can do a 3 or above, you're going to be able to make money, right? As long as your cost of goods ratio are where they need to be. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, well, if I'm buying something for $5, I can sell it for $10. That's not the way the world works. Your $5 cost of good item needs to be sold for much more than $10. But you get that metric right. You get your media cost to be basically 30% of your sales. then everything else kind of falls into place, right? Like taking a call center order typically costs, the same. Shipping out the item typically costs the same. Obviously, you got to figure out how to minimize the size of your package, because that saves you money. Returns are, if the product quality and your product is making people happy, then your returns should be in the, 8 to 10% range. And that's typical, and you can afford that. So it all it's just math. It's just a math game, right? And so just seeing that over and over and over so many times over 24 years, it just became a simple, all right, this is what you got to do. It's easy to see the companies that are chasing the top number because their ads suck. Right? Because there's nobody screaming at the marketing department, you're not getting a 3, you got to tweak your ads. You got to have better ads. You got to have better ads. And so Dormeo, every single employee knows that it's easy to know when I'm happy. Like last week was over a 3 or under a 3. That's my emotional, happiness level is connected with the weekly MER. And if we're under a 3, then, it's the media agencies need to do a better job. The call centers need to convert better. There's a conversion problem on the website. You got to go and tweak all your dials. You got to go negotiate your cost of goods. You got to go negotiate with all the vendors. You got to go and cut retail, media costs without cutting the media volume, and you got to work on your creative. You got to come up with new creative to get people to respond. So you can easily see the companies that don't have that true north of getting the 3 because they're not paying attention to their performance of their marketing kit.
And you mentioned price. If you're in that commodity space that you were talking about, that you will stay away from, you've developed an allergic reaction.
Yes.
To commodities, right? As any good business.
Don't know how to do that. Don't know how to do that business.
Don't do that. You can't do that. And if you have a defensible product that's packable and you're delivering value and benefits to the customer, you can command that higher retail. So instead of that cost at 5, retail at 10, you can get to that cost at 5, retail at 15 because you're justifying the high price. Great quality, great performance, great advertising. The whole thing works together. This is great. This information is so critically important, I think, to young brands, young sellers to listen to and live by. I can't thank you enough for coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule. What is next for Scott Reid at Dormeo USA? I know that mattresses is the next thing that you're going to get Americans buying, and I'm looking forward to seeing results there. What's next for Scott?
Next for Scott at Dormeo is we're launching direct-to-consumer in Canada. When I entered Dormeo 4 years ago as CEO, there was an existing exclusive relationship with Sleep Country Canada, which is the largest, it's the gorilla of the mattress industry or mattress retail space in Canada. They have like 290 stores. They're like 60% market share. So it's like taking Mattress Firm, basically, for the United States, but it's the Canada version. So Dormeo's mattresses, which are anywhere from $2,500 to $6,000. They're high-end, luxury mattresses that compete with Tempur-Pedic and Sealy and all these other brands. They've been doing really well in Canada. And so after showing Sleep Country Canada the great success we've had in the United States, after being happily surprised that Consumer Reports chose us as the number one topper, available, we said, Sleep Country Canada, you know what? We should be advertising our toppers and pillows in Canada on TV and doing that ourselves. And then every single ad can say, hey, by the way, if you need a new mattress, because, our topper works great on old mattresses, with small divots. But if your mattress is collapsing, you're going to need a new mattress. You need a solid foundation to put our topper on top. If you need a new mattress, we have those exclusively available at Sleep Country Canada. So I convinced Sleep Country Canada that this would work, symbiotically together. And so we'll be launching, and of course, Amazon.ca will be up first, mid-October in Canada. So I'm very excited about that because I live here.
Sure.
And, now my mom could see me on TV.
That's all us entrepreneurs really want. That's all we want. We want mom to be happy and proud, right? Well, Scott, I'm sure mom is very proud of your many, many successes, multi-talented with a string of successes in your career. Any last parting wisdom or last parting shots to any seller that's out there that they can learn from your amazing career?
If you can't measure it, don't buy it. That's it. So I'm talking about media. Never let somebody pitch you some story about, top of the funnel media that's going to create your brand awareness is going to go, we're going to measure your brand awareness, and your brand awareness is going to go from 42% to 64%. And then that just like trickle down economics. You know what I mean? It doesn't work for me. If you can't measure the results of the media, then don't buy it. That's my parting words of wisdom that I've learned.
Well, Scott, there's been a lot of words of wisdom in here. Thank you for sharing your amazing career and your secret sauce for building these $100 million brands. In the final analysis, you've nailed this formula, Scott. Get a defensible product, patent that thing, tell the value, raise awareness of that through really smart video. If you want to start on Facebook, go ahead, but TV is still where it's at and it works. I've seen it. Scott's seen it. And it'll work for you. What a career. I can't wait to see your next act. I know Canada's going to be a huge success. And again, Scott, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you for your help with Amazon.
Thank you. If you're ready to start growing and protecting your brand on Amazon with a team of experienced Amazon operators, like we have done with Scott's amazing team at Dormeo USA, you can visit us at day2podcast.com. That's day2podcast.com. And lastly, if you know of anyone else who would gain value from this podcast, please share it with them. Thanks for listening and happy selling.